demand an immediate withdrawal of other agricultural-related bills that threaten to stifle smallholder farmers in blatant attempts to benefit foreign and multinational corporations. The bills we are referring to include the Livestock Bill 2024, the Mung-Bean Bill 2024, the Nut and Oil Crop Development Bill 2023, the Price Control Essential Goods Amendment Bill of 2024, and the Food and Feed Safety Control Bill 2023. We remind all parliamentarians that passing anti-people laws will come to affect them individually, as we learn from the Bible in Isaiah chapter 10, verse 1 to 3, which I read. Woe unto those who make unjust laws, to those who issue oppressive decrees, to deprive the poor of their rights and withhold justice from the oppressed of my people, making widows their prey, robbing the fatherless. What will you do on the day of reckoning, when disaster comes from afar? To whom will you run for help? Where will you leave your riches? On our part, the member churches of NCCK have committed to use their structures to deliver climate change-related messages from the pulpit and other platforms accessible to us. In addition, we have launched a program which will plant 1.5 billion trees in the spaces accessible to us over the next 10 years. Further, we'll initiate and implement programs to promote good nutrition for all, and will especially advocate against marketing of unhealthy food on media. Number 3, properly structured education. This General Assembly has reviewed the state of education in Kenya. It is unfortunate that the education system is marked by confusion, inequality, and injustices. We urge the Ministry of Education to speedily address the concerns that have been raised regarding the competence-based curriculum, CBC. The transition to grade 9 next year is still unclear as regards to availability of facilities, availability of teachers in public primary schools. How many classrooms have we constructed to accommodate the learners? How many teachers have we employed to ensure that all learners are within the teacher-pupil ratio? Further, this General Assembly is appalled at the wastage of public funds being witnessed through multiple scholarship programs. We are convinced that the only reason that these scholarship funds have been set up is to enable the officials, the politicians, to steal taxpayers' money. We strongly recommend that the bursaries and scholarships, which total close to 100 billion Kenya shillings, be collapsed into a tuition fund that will provide capitation so that we can have free basic education for all children in Kenya. Further, there is need to urgently review the proposed university education funding model. It is grossly unjust to have a model that makes education the preserve of the rich. The government should engage in comprehensive public participation so as to ensure that the structure and the model benefits all qualified Kenyans. Number 4 is safeguarding school reopening. This General Assembly is cognizant that parents across the country are waiting and preparing for the reopening of schools next week. However, there is uncertainty following the reports that teachers and lecturers are planning to go on strike. We call upon the ministry.
Things. The issue is also doing things right. You may have a right thing that you want to pursue, a right goal, a right idea, right ideology that you want to be pursued and implemented, but you cannot do it alone, because it is, yes, your idea, but you are not the first one to have had that kind of an idea. There are others who have had it before. We may not have done it your way, but there is a way that it should be done. And so much as we would want to support the youth, we would want also to ask the youth to listen and know that all that they have they would want implemented can be implemented if it is done the right way. For example, the youth want to occupy, which we allow them to do that. If we allow you today to occupy parliament by removing all the parliamentarians, and Kenya is a democracy, how are we going to have the next parliament in place without the IEBC? So some of these things that we are raising are pertinent. They can help the country move forward, but it is only important to prioritize them and say we would want uh, the the IBC properly constituted. There is a select panel that has been gazetted, but we are now asking that we should move slowly but careful, but within also the framework of the legal framework, so that we get this very important commission in place, and so that Kenya is able to move the right direction. We already have constituencies without MPs. We also have wards without their representatives, and all these need to be occupied before you can say we are occupying. So let us occupy these positions, but the very, very vital position that should be rightly constituted is the IEBC. We would want also to ask the government, as we have done in our statement, that they have no option but to listen to the people of Kenya. When the people of Kenya say we are tired of taxes and levies and interests and any other, like for example, we have had more than 16 levies and taxes that have been introduced in the very, very few days of the Kenya Kwanza government. We would want to support the government that is listening to people and knowing the burden that the people are taking. And we'd want to remain a trusted voice to the voiceless, a trusted voice, and remaining the conscience of the society at all times. And so we urge the government just to listen to the people, because these are the people that elected you. These are the people who you even come to some.
And has over 110 years worked to improve and enhance the well-being of the people of Kenya. The 65th General Assembly has transacted the statutory business and playfully reflected on the matters of national concern, and now shares the following message. Number one is building a better Kenya for all. This General Assembly has taken time to pray for the nation, taking note that we have gone through difficult and challenging times over the last few years. Despite having had peace before, during, and after the 2022 general elections, the period thereafter has been marked by perpetual rising cost of living, emotive political activity, weakened physical and mental health, and fatal demonstrations that resulted in deaths of dozens of Kenyans. The state of justice, inclusivity, and democracy has deteriorated, leading to strife and conflicts as citizens groups feel excluded from the decision-making and the national life. In the Bible, we learn that God intended the world to be an excellent place for all people to live, as we read in Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, where God saw all that he had made, and it was good. It is the responsibility of us all, therefore, to put effort to make Kenya a nation that works for all Kenyans. It is in this context that we recognize and commend the young people of Kenya, who are commonly known as Gen Z, for picking up the mantle and organizing transformative demonstrations that pricked the conscience of our nation and spurred radical governance reforms. We further remind all of us that the Gen Z comprise of 17 million Kenyans who cannot be ignored as they will shape the current and the future of our nation. As such, any policies and plans made by the nation of Kenya, including the church, must focus on creating a nation where the Gen Z and the Generation Alpha will live and thrive. We cannot ignore them. We can only ignore them at our own risk. Number two, comprehensively address climate change. This General Assembly recognizes that Kenyans in all counties have been heavily impacted by climate change, leading to deterioration in health, increasing food insecurity, and many others. More people are sleeping hungry, and the livelihood options for many have been wiped out. Despite the impact of climate change, this General Assembly is concerned that the government of Kenya has not done enough with regard to mitigation and adaptation interventions. We therefore call upon all county governments to speedily develop, enact, and implement climate change mitigation laws and policies for safeguarding of life. The policies should include strategies to comprehensively educate the citizens